Here, again, amidst COVID, and the year before that in 2020, we had a much smaller group of people, and most of our attendees were coming to us via Zoom. However, today, we still have Zoom available, but we decided that we must meet in person to allow the people to see what's happening, especially down the stalls, and the different activities the ministry and different partners have been undertaking during this Water and Environment Week. Your Excellency, we had 25 walkers this week who walked through eastern Uganda to Lira City, and I must state that some of the walkers are here. I think we have some of the walkers, if you could stand, part of the Uganda Walkers Association. Are there some of the walkers here? That was 450 kilometers walk. I think we should put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for this group. But that said, Your Excellency, allow me to invite the National Organizing Committee Chairperson, Dr. Florence Grace Adong, to come and make opening remarks to give us an overview of this meeting. I see Dr. Kalista, I don't see Dr. Adong. Doctor, you want to? Oh, good. Doctor, please, you're welcome. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Dr. Florence reminded us that she loves God, and we just skipped that small part. So allow me to invite our brother, who's probably the newest in God's family here in Uganda. Bishop, please come. Bishop Mzee, to come and lead us in a word of prayer.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We give thanks to Thee, O Lord, the Creator and Sustainer of all creatures. For through your love and care, we have started today the week of water and environment. We ask you, O Lord, to enlighten the decision makers and users of the products of the environment, always to mind the future generations by adopting better environmental management practices. For thou art our sanctification, and unto Thee we ascribe glory to the Father, and to the Son, and the Holy Spirit, now, ever, and into ages of ages. Amen.
Thank you very much, His Eminence, the Metropolitan Geronimos Mzee, who is the co-chairperson of the Uganda Joint Christian Council and also the Archbishop of the Uganda Orthodox Church. Thank you very much. You're most welcome, Doctor.
Your Excellency, retired Major Jessica Alupo, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, the Right Reverend Dr. Anthony Joseph Ziwa, Chairperson of Uganda Joint Christian Council and Bishop of Kiyinda Mityana Diocese, representative of the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, co-chairperson of UJCC and Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Your Eminence, the Metropolitan Geronomos Muzei, co-chair of the UGCC and Archbishop of Uganda Orthodox Church. Distinguished religious leaders who are present, Honorable Minister of State for Environment, who is holding forth for the Minister of Water and Environment, the Minister of Environment and Bulungi Bwansi, Buganda Kingdom, Honorable Members of Parliament, the United Nations Residence Coordinator in Uganda, the Deputy Ambassador of Germany to Uganda, UNDP Resident Representative, the Mayor of Nakawa Division, representatives of the development partners, private sector, civil society, organizations, heads of institutions, retired professionals, the youth, children, and the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you may wish to understand that 65% of human body weight and 75% of our brain is water. The forest cover of Uganda that stores water, among others, has decreased from over 50% in 1900 to 24% in 1990, and as we talk is 12%. Similarly, the wetlands coverage has dwindled from 15.6% in 1994 to just mere 8.9%. Mount Rwenzori used to be covered with the snow at a coverage of 6.5 kilometers square in 1906. As we talk now, it's less than a half square kilometer. So the destruction of our natural ecosystem is affecting water and environment resources upon which man depends. The Uganda Water and Environment Week brings opportunity to all stakeholders to discuss challenges and issues affecting water, environment, and climate change in Uganda. This week-long event brings diverse expertises, and it's a platform that provides for dialogue in a cross-section of stakeholders involving leaders, policy and lawmakers, decision makers, professionals, academia, public and private sectors, non-state actors, technocrats, the youth, partners in development, among others. During the week, we listen, share views, experience, and also discuss matters of common interest, which is water, environment, and climate change, and also help us to create awareness and educate the mass to adopt positive mindset in matters of water environment. The theme has already been provided. It is water and environment for peace and socio-economic transformation of Uganda. This theme is very well linked to the current World Water Forum, which is taking place in Dakar, Senegal, from 21st to 25th March 2022. The overarching theme for the World Water Forum is water security for peace and development. In both cases of the event, we have 3 important days from 21st to 23rd with separate but related themes. The World Forest Day, which is tomorrow, is about forest and sustainable production and consumption. The World Water Day on 22nd March is about groundwater, making the invisible visible. The World Meteorological Day, commemorated on 23rd March 2022, has a theme on early warning and early actions. All these 3 themes will be commemorated during the Uganda Water and Environment Week. We had pre-event activities that had already been talked about, ranging from the walk, 450-kilometer walk, up to children's and youth debates and poems in different parts of the country. We want to appreciate all of you, your presence here, and those who are online, and those who are viewing us, for being part of this important subject matter, which is pertinent to our lives. We want to appreciate the sponsors. We want to appreciate the co-conveners and conveners of side events, We want to appreciate all of you development partners in all the support that you have provided. We appreciate the leadership of the Ministry of Water and Environment for timely and proper guidance to make this a reality. I would like lastly to thank the National Organizing Committee and the media for the good work that we have done. We look forward to very pertinent and focused discussions on innovative solutions and mechanisms to restore our water resources and environment and climate in which we live. Because without these natural aspects, it will be difficult to attain peace, socioeconomic transformation, and productivity for man. I want to thank you and wish you very fruitful time while we are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Florence Grace Adongo, who is the Director, Water Resources Management at the Ministry of Water and Environment. Most probably, many of you are still wondering how this came about. It's the fifth of the kind, but what's been the journey so far? Why is water as important that we have to be talking about it? We have a video and a technical team. If we are ready, let's have this video before we get to see what happens next. Let's take a look.
Uganda may slide into vulnerability to climate change due to the high rate of degradation of its environment, which is a key component in mitigating its impacts. Uganda loses about 4% of its forest cover and wetlands every year, which is one of the highest rates in the world, and if not nipped in the bud, may pose serious challenges to Uganda's economic growth and livelihoods. However, the government, through its Ministry of Water and Environment, has come up with various policies and strategies to reverse this trend.
Deliberately, we are going to sensitize our people and supply them with seedlings which, like cashew nut, macadamia, avocado, shea nuts. These ones, once they're planted and becomes cash crops, they're not going to be cut down. Those in the wetlands, what are the alternatives for example, growing rice in the wetlands? We have shifted as a policy position and a strategy, as is championed by His Excellency the President. We want them to start engage in fish farming.
To bolster these efforts, the Ministry of Water and Environment, through its Water Resources Institute, organizes an annual week-long water sensitization event called the Uganda Water and Environment Week. Since its inception in 2018, the event helps to raise awareness and attract stakeholders to exchange views on matters of water and environment, which is very pertinent to human health and survival. This year's edition, the fifth of its kind under the theme Water and Environment for Peace and Socio-Economic Transformation of Uganda, is being held in relation to Uganda's National Development Plan 3 and Uganda's Vision 2040.
You are aware that our national framework is hinged on making sure that we improve on the socio-economic development and also the lives of our people. And water is very key. Environment provides the stock of many resources that the country uses, and climate is very critical as a primary ingredient, especially with the emphasis on agro-industrialization, tourism, and any other activities that we have.
The Uganda Water and Environment Week was designed to coincide with the commemoration of 3 annual international days, namely International Forest Day, World Water Day, and International Meteorological Day, which fall on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of March, respectively. Based on the success of the previous years, this year's hybrid event kicked off with a myriad of activities held across the ministry's 6 regional centers with the aim of broadening the scope and impact of the event among the different stakeholders.
We bring stakeholders so that we reflect on these issues, see where we are, what we need to do, and we also share with stakeholders what we want to do in future when it comes to issues around water and environment management.
Already, the ministry, in collaboration with the Walkers Association of Uganda, embarked on a 2-week, 450-kilometer trail dubbed Walking for Water, Environment and Climate Change, that has seen participants walk from Kampala to Lira via the eastern route of the country. The walkers made various stopovers to interface with the public to discuss water and environment issues.
Water, water, water. Water is life. Water is life.
Other activities included radio talk shows, cleanup exercises, restoration activities, and school debates. At the culmination of these pre-event activities, discussion sessions have been arranged for a cross-section of stakeholders, including cultural and religious institutions, to dialogue about water and environment management and development in general across various sectors of the economy.
I appeal to you, fellow Ugandans, to be true watchmen and women of our water and environmental resources. Let us all stop building and encroaching on the few wetlands we have in this country and stop filling them with soil.
For us here in Uganda, the kingdom is the environment. Environment is the kingdom. Once we destroy the environment, we have destroyed our kingdom.
Destroying forests without replacement is causing global warming. Let us work together in all matters of protecting and conserving water and environment for the next generation.
The overall goal of this year's event is to improve the understanding of the role of water and environment resources in peace and socio-economic transformation of the Ugandan population to a middle-income status. Therefore, the discussions have been designed to gravitate around 4 sub-themes that seek to explore promotion of peace and stability through water and environment resources, building resilience to various risks and shocks, financing water, environment and climate change, as well as partnerships and intersectoral collaboration in water and environment management and development. It is envisaged that public awareness on valuing water and environment for transforming Uganda's economy and improved livelihood through water security, public health, peace and sustainable urban growth will be increased.
First and foremost, we want to ensure that every Ugandan has a clean and reliable water source for consumption. Secondly, we need water for production purposes. Whether industries or agriculture, we need the water. And thirdly, these water are found in towers or resources such as forestry, wetlands, etc. And some of these other resources that have the open resource available, like the river, the Lake Victoria, etc., are shared resources. Therefore, we need to equitably manage them. So the resources therefore will go towards ensuring that we sustainably manage the environment, but also ensure that the water resources are available for productive purposes and for consumption. And this is in line with also the Paris development model, whereby we are looking at transforming the parishes from peasantry to have economic activities. They need the water for production, they need the water for drinking, they need the water for schools, they need the water for the health centers, name it. So we need to invest in water and environment.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. All protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen, once again, but I request that just before we do continue, we observe a moment of silence, for the country has lost a leader, the Speaker of the 11th Parliament, the Right Honourable Jacob Olanya. Let's take a moment of silence in his memory. Let's stand up and take that. And may his soul rest in eternal peace. We can take our seats again. Very unfortunate news, of course, that befell the country this afternoon or this morning. But like the Bible says, for the Christians, from dust we come, and unto dust we shall return. And the book of Ecclesiastes tells us that there is time for everything, a time to live, and the time that we shall say bye-bye to the face of the earth. Back to our discussion, of course, it's very, very important. When you look at the importance of water, we are all talking about sustainable development goals because we have our development partners, we have the UN family right here. Water is very key. If you look at goal number 2, which talks about zero hunger, when you look at goal number 3, which talks about good health and sanitation and well-being, when you look at goal number 5, gender equality, issues of accessibility to water are very key, especially when it comes to the women, because they will bear the brunt of having to move kilometers and kilometers to be able to access water. The other question becomes, is that water safe? Clean water and sanitation, goal number 6, is very key, and water plays a key aspect there. Talk about 13, which is climate action. Talk about 14, which is life below water. We can clearly say that water plays almost close to 50% importance to the sustainable development goals, and that is the very key reason as to why we are here to discuss this important aspect. It is very absurd, the statistics that were being read out by Dr. Dongo earlier on. If we are losing 4% of our forest and wetland coverage each and every year, where will we be 50 years from now? That's a question we all have to ponder about. And as we continue, ladies and gentlemen, allow me invite Mr. Hans von Schroeder, who is the Deputy Ambassador of Germany to Uganda, to give his remarks. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good afternoon. Our guest of honor, the Vice President of Uganda, the Honorable Minister for Water and Environment, the Honorable Ministers for State for Water and Environment, the Permanent Secretary, also Ministry of Water and Environment, ambassadors, heads of international organizations, honorable members of parliament, religious leaders, fellow development partners, representatives of other ministries, government agencies, private sector organizations, civil society organizations, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure that we today launch the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2022. This annual conference facilitates intersectoral dialogue and knowledge exchange, thereby allowing for continuous learning and adapting of approaches for the improvement of Uganda's water and environment sector. As we have heard, this year's Water Week theme, Water and Environment for Peace and Socio-Economic Transformation of Uganda, is very much aligned with one important area of cooperation in which the German government, as well as other Team Europe partners, especially Belgium, Austria, Sweden, and the EU delegation, have been and are working closely together with Uganda for many years. In the case of Germany, our support to the wash sector continues to be channeled through entry points, such as the program for water supply and sanitation for refugee settlements and host communities in northern Uganda, the Natural Resources Stewardship Program, the Sanitation for Millions program, as well as the support to refugee hosting communities in northern Uganda. All of these are being implemented in close cooperation of the Ministry of Water and Environment with the assistance of GIZ. Allow me to give you some more details. The program, Water Supply and Sanitation for Refugee Settlements and Host Communities, focuses on supporting the implementation of the Global Compact on Refugees in Uganda. It is well known and commendable that Uganda is the biggest refugee hosting country on the continent, and it is implementing one of the most liberal refugee policies globally. However, the government's capacities and resources have been stretched in addressing the situation of refugees and host communities, and therefore this program aims at easing the load. The German government is supporting the transition from humanitarian-led water supply for refugees to water supply by national institutions, and thus the transition to a more sustainable model. This contributes to the implementation of the comprehensive refugee response framework in the water sector and the integration of services for both refugees and host communities. Ladies and gentlemen, Uganda's economy is heavily dependent on water and environmental resources for economic growth and the livelihoods of its people. However, these natural resources have been challenged in the last 20 years by growing population and rapid urbanization. The Natural Resources Stewardship Program, NatuRes, is addressing these challenges such as wetland degradation, flooding, and poor solid waste management to ensure that water and environmental resources are sustainable, managed for present and future generations, and continued green economic growth. It follows a stewardship approach which is based on participatory governance and the involvement of stakeholders from the public, the private sector, and civil society. It makes them aware of their shared responsibilities towards natural resources management and enabling them to collaborating on protecting and sustainably managing those resources. One of the outputs supported by NatuRes is the Uganda Green Growth Report. The report will be proudly launched during this year's Water and Environmental Week. It is the first report of its kind to track the implementation of Uganda's Green Growth Development Strategy for inclusive, low-emission economic growth in Uganda. The third program through which the German government channels support the Ugandan water and environment sector is the Sanitation for Millions global program, which operates in Uganda, but also in countries like Pakistan, Jordan, and 9 Caribbean countries. The importance of safe sanitation cannot be emphasized enough. Poor sanitation and hygiene greatly affect the economic development of the country, but also the health of learners and especially the health of girls. The Sanitation for Millions program in Uganda focuses therefore on improving access to safe sanitation and hygiene conditions of particularly disadvantaged and vulnerable groups in public institutions like schools, health centers, and at community level within households. The program contributes to scaling up simple, inclusive water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure, supporting software measures, and increasing access to financing. Ladies and gentlemen, I commend what the wash sector in Uganda has accomplished, and I'm optimistic about what can be accomplished over the coming years. The dedication and expertise of all stakeholders are valuable and effective tools in addressing the cross-cutting challenges that confront Uganda and the region. The German government will continue to support the Ugandan government and the water and environment sector in its development agenda. The discussions in the coming days will explore how water and environment can contribute to peace and a socio-economic transformation of Uganda. I wish you all a productive and successful exchange of ideas to the benefit of the people of Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hans von Schroeder, who is the Deputy Ambassador of Germany in Uganda. It is very clear, definitely, like I always love to say, that the environment can live without us, but we cannot live without the environment, and therefore we need to protect it as much as possible and guard it jealously. I love the fact that this 5th convention, Water Convention, is coming amidst heated processes of Uganda's accession to the Water Convention, which is very, very key with discussions of managing transboundary water resources, which we are a part of as well. We have quite a number of them that we share with neighboring countries. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now invite to represent Ms. Susan Gongi Namondo, the United Nations Resident Rep. Allow me invite Ms. Elsie Atafua, who is the Resident Rep, United Nations Development Program. Let's welcome her.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, retired Major General Jessica Alupo, Honorable Minister of State, Beatrice Aniwer, a great advocate and a very good friend, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Okidi, heads of the Diplomatic Corps, religious leaders, development partners, government officials, media, civil society. Let me just simply say, all protocols observed. Let me bring you greetings from the United Nations family, and Your Excellency, let me extend sincere apologies on behalf of our resident coordinator, who was meant to be here but couldn't make it. She was just flying in today and she just couldn't make it today. So I'm just saying a few words on behalf of the United Nations family. I'll be speaking off craft a bit because I don't have her speech with me, but I guess that is the role of becoming a representative. You should be able to speak anytime on behalf of the United Nations family. First of all, let me congratulate the Ministry of Environment and Water for the great leadership in gathering us together, but also bringing to bear a very important conversation, Excellency, at this important time. A conversation which is important for the Vision 2040, a conversation that is important for the Sustainable Development Goals, a conversation that is important as we implement the 3rd National Development Plan and as we look into transitioning into the Parish Development Model. Excellency, let me dwell my brief remarks on 3 things, on why this is important for Uganda, why this is important for our beloved country, what the United Nations family is doing, and finally, areas of support or partnership that we seek with government and development partners. As we reflected in preparation for this, there are a couple of things that come to mind, Excellency, as we discuss why water is important for socioeconomic development and why water is important for peace. And let me dwell on a few things. First of all, on the economic side, the social side, the environmental side, and let me touch briefly on the climate dimensions, which is very important, and the transboundary nature. And I'm not going to go into all the details. Agriculture produces, I think, 24% of the country's GDP is attributed to agriculture. Close to 70% of our population are linked, their livelihoods and jobs are linked to agriculture. But we only have 1%, less than 1% of agriculture is under irrigation, which means that we are very much dependent as a country on rain-fed. And in the face of climate change, if we don't tap into the potential of water and irrigation, socioeconomic transformation would elude us. So this is a very important part of the conversation. You take the energy sector, for example. 90% of the energy mix of Uganda is from hydro. It just tells you the importance of protecting our water sources. And I know in the video the PS talked about that, our wetlands, because our energy is dependent on hydro, and hydro is dependent on our wetlands. Our tourism, before COVID hit, was the highest in terms of GDP production, GDP. Now, tourism is very important. When you look at water, think about it. Why do people come to Uganda? They come for many reasons, but also for water tourism. The birds that they come to watch, the birds, the habitats are the wetlands. It's very important. So when we begin to look at water, water is just not something that is running. It is connected to the economic development of the country. The second thing that I wanted to dwell on is the social aspect, which is very important. We need water, for example, for water and sanitation. In the world, we have 785 million people who do not have access to clean and safe water. 490 million of them are in sub-Saharan Africa. And in Uganda, we do have a study by the ministry which shows that 68% of the urban population don't have access to safe water, and by extension, about 38% also in rural households. That means that we have to work together collectively to provide water in terms of its safety for consumption, but also by extension, its linkage to the health services. Thirdly, I wanted to touch briefly on climate change because this is very important. Climate change poses one of the most compelling development challenges of all times. We have seen the flooding, we have seen the droughts, we have seen the fires, and we have seen here in Uganda many of the things with even the water rising. Now, what does it mean when it comes to water? And what does it mean in terms of really looking at issues like wetland restoration? You have to look at wetland like a sponge. When it rains, it takes the water in. But when we destroy the wetlands, when the rains come, the climate change hits, we see the flood. So it's important for us to connect even climate change to water in many ways. But our wetlands also hold carbon sinks, and when we destroy the wetlands, we emit greenhouse gases as well. I just want people to begin to see water and its intersection with many parts of our economy. And I think in the video as well, we heard about gender and gender equality. Because of lack of access to water, we see young women and older women trekking miles on end to look for water, and there are trade-offs. They are not able to go to school, some of these young women and men. And therefore, it's important, even from a gender equality point of view, to begin to see the importance of water. And finally, the transboundary dimensions. Uganda is blessed with water. I think 18% of the surface of this country is water, lakes, rivers, wetlands. But we also get 35% of our water from neighboring countries. That means that we have a collective responsibility to make sure that it is protected and is also equitable. And I want to link this again to the issue around peace, because peace is not only the absence of war. There are human security dimensions to this. We have seen what it means, particularly in the Sahelian countries. I'm from West Africa, I can speak that for a fact. Because of water stress in some areas, we see fighting amongst communities. We see fighting between pastoralists and farmers. Even in our own country, and maybe we have to get the statistics on this, but on the cattle corridor, where there's water stress, the potential for conflict is very high. And therefore, as we talk about socio-economic development and peace, let's see water as a locomotive and the centrality of water to address some of these things. So what are we doing as a UN family? Very briefly, Excellency, as a family, we are with you. We stand ready to support the vision of the country and the Vision 2040 and the NDP 3. In that regard, we've put our efforts around the implementation of the NDP 3, where we have made sure that water environment issues are mainstreamed across board, not only in the section that talks about water management, even the agro-industrialization, human capital, and many others. We've also designed programs that are supporting a number of initiatives. One of those is the project on wetlands, supported by the Austrian Development Agency, the Green Climate Fund, the government of Uganda, United Nations Development Program, where we are working in 12 districts in southwestern Uganda, as well as 12 districts in the eastern part of the country, where we are trying very hard to protect the wetlands. We also have our sister agencies, the Food and Agriculture Organization, putting its energy around the irrigation policy and how to make sure that we can take advantage of these water resources, working with smallholder agriculture farmers. Our sister agency, the United Nations Environment Program, together with us, UNDP, developed the first Wetland Atlas, Volumes 1 and 2. We submitted one to His Excellency the President, and I think that motivated the Austrian representative here to fund the Wetlands Program. Our UNICEF colleagues have been extensively involved in water and sanitation programs, and I can go on and on. We are also supporting, for example, innovative approaches such as the payment for ecosystem services in our programs. And on the transboundary side, we are working with the Nile Basin Initiative, where we are looking at how do we protect groundwater and surface water in the riparian countries that work on the Nile. So finally, what is our collective action as I conclude? a few remarks on behalf of the UN family and the United Nations Resident Coordinator. I'd like to highlight 4 points. First of all, there is a need for integrated approaches to what we are talking about. It is not in the interest of us all as a people, as Ugandans, that agriculture is doing its work and environment is doing its work, and energy. We need to work together. So we're calling for integrated approaches to the way we handle issues around water and its contributions to socioeconomic transformation and peace. Secondly, is to look at the implementation. I think somebody said Uganda is not short of policies and programs, and therefore how do we make sure that the policies at hand, whether it's through the NDP 3 process, whether it's the climate policy, whether it's the ecosystem policies, I think we need to move beyond the rhetoric into implementation. Thirdly, on financing and partnerships, I think that will be very key. Optimizing the use of existing resources whilst also keeping an eye on mobilizing additional resources, including from the private sector. And why not? We are close to Nile breweries here. I think they get a lot of their water from the lakes and the rivers. Why don't we partner with some of these private sector and look at innovative ways of funding water programs? And finally, we also need to look at technology transfer. We cannot do the same business and expect different results. We have, for example, with the National Forest Authority launched what we are calling the National, it's an information system to look at natural resources, monitoring in real time wetlands, monitoring in real time forestry. And the idea is for us to be able to respond very quickly whether there are issues. And some of these innovative ways would help us to be able to push the agenda forward. So, Excellency, on behalf of the United Nations family and on behalf of the United Nations Resident Coordinator, let me reiterate the support of the family to the vision of the country, to the Vision 2040, to the NDP 3 implementation, and to the course, which is the course of development for Uganda. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Ms. Elsie Atafor. On behalf of the UN family, and I hope you captured the passion. She spoke to the issues of water stress and why we need to prioritize this as a country to be able to protect our children and our grandchildren and let them not be able to say, what did our parents do about this when they were still here? That's the question we don't want when we are 60 or 80 and your children are saying, but you could have helped us resolve this issue at your time. We are speaking to the theme, Water and Environment for Peace and Socio-Economic Transformation of Uganda. And I think I can't stress it enough, as Elsie did, about the threat of water stress to this continent, but also to our country and our region. I want in a very special way to invite a representative of the Uganda Joint Christian Council, who will be representing the chairperson here. I'll invite Right Reverend Arch Constantine Bonani Banji, who's the Executive Secretary, Uganda Joint Christian Council, to come and make his remarks on behalf of the chairperson, but also he will unveil the pastoral statement by the Uganda Joint Christian Council on this Water and Environment Week. You're most welcome. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Your Excellency Vice President Jessica Lupo, Minister of Water Beatrice Onyual, Minister of Environment, Minister of Water and Environment, Uganda Kingdom, Mariam Garbo, His Eminence Metropolitan Hieronymus, Archbishop of Uganda Orthodox Church, the Provincial Secretary, William Ongeng, representing His Grace, representing His Grace, Dr. Kazimba, commissioners, directors, ambassadors present here, protocol observed. Please, if I've messed up with your name, I ask for forgiveness. In the book of Genesis, it is clearly written that God gave man and woman the mandate to look after the earth, to take care of it, not to destroy it. It is unfortunate what's happening today. We are really destroying it. As religious leaders who have said, no, enough is enough. We can't just continue watching our water being misused. We can't continue watching when our swamps are being taken away. We can't continue watching when the forests are really being cut. It is unfortunate. And those who are doing it are the people who come to church, by the way, who come to pray with us. And as a priest like me, I cannot say, peace be with you, when I don't have peace of mind. I'm giving what I don't have. My peace comes from water. My peace comes from very good air from the forest. It is unfortunate when I pass somewhere and I say, please, in Uganda they say kabuyonjo, that I want to go to the kabuyonjo. Instead they show me kabujama. Do you know what kabujama means? It is a place of darkness. We can't continue doing like that. How many people are getting sick because of dirty water? And as a priest, I cannot preach to sick people. I need healthy people. Now, the church today has come to raise awareness that, please, enough is enough. The habit of giving away forests to investors, I call them so-called investors. Why? Because if you are a true investor, you cannot just come and cut the forest, which has been there for long. The issue of getting sand from the swamps, those swamps, please, we need them. They really clean our water. I don't know whether I should take people back to class, I don't know, to primary 1, 2, whereby they were teaching us about water and how it is purified, naturally purified. It is bad that we are seeing such things. Sometimes when I'm traveling by bus, I wonder, and I really feel pity when I see people drinking water and passing bottles of water through the what? Through the windows. I ask myself, do we mind about the environment? It is a pity. I don't know if Jesus really, where he is, he's also feeling bad because he drank water from the Nile. Is anyone going to oppose me? Jesus drank water from our Nile and it was still pure water. But now when he sees it, he says, what are these people doing to the water really, which was pure? I ran to the peaceful continent of Africa, which was really green with water. And now if I go there, or if he is to go to Kasesa and look at Mount Rwenzori, he will say, is this the mountain I left in Africa, really? And who has destroyed it? It is you and me. And I'm happy with the one statement my brother has made, is that our sons and our daughters will point at our graves that mom or grandmom, if you had protected the environment, I would not be in this situation. And where you will be, you will not be okay. And they will assume you are born, throw them away, because you did not do what you are supposed to do. Please, let us shun the use of polythene bags. Let us practice the proper disposal of plastics and all untreated waste materials which affect our environment. I was involved in cleaning and I went to somewhere in Luzera and I said, are fish here manufacture bottles really, or I don't know whether the industry belongs now to the fish to manufacture those plastic bottles. It is a shame to us, by the way. We are not even supposed to laugh, we are supposed to cry. I was talking about some people were cleaning with, that since I was young, I used to hear a drum called Segala Galamide here in Uganda. We need another Segala Galamide. I don't know how to translate it. Segala Galamide, I don't know whether I don't want someone who's asleep. Someone who has kurambara. So, we need some people who are active, who will come and talk about our environment, who will come and say, no, enough is enough. As the religious leaders now, we have said, no, enough is enough. You know, when the religious leaders talk, and when I stand there at the pulpit, they will say, the Father has said. And by the way, for me, I don't need the transport refund to give the people to come and tell them about what? About environment. They will come, but when I come here, I will say, my transport refund. We have those structures, and we promise you we are going to use them. Lastly, I really thank the government of Uganda for putting up this kind of environment whereby all of us now have to work hard. I thank the President of Uganda, the Minister of Water, and every person here who has come. Please, in my culture, we have a proverb which says, you know, people used to suffer from lice. And we say, one thumb does not kill lice. Eh? You have to use what? 2 of them. And then you will kill it. Eh? See, Checho? Yeah. Now, we are all thumbs. We are going to do what? We are going to kill life for God and my country. Now, on your table, you have this pastoral letter. Please pass through it and know our commitment. We are committed to serve our Uganda. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Reverend Arch Constantine. I honestly, imagine a lot of these young people may not know what we went through. And the last item he shared with you was a preserve of school, when we were very young in school. And I don't think the young children know that there are things like lice anymore, but there's a good reminder. A good reminder. We have several leaders amidst us, Your Excellency. Among them, of course, as mentioned, the religious leaders here who are well represented. But we also have cultural leaders who are here. And the Buganda Kingdom is well represented. And I wanted the Honorable Mariam Calvo Mayanja to stand for recognition. She's from... She's the Minister of Environment and Bulungi 1C, as our religious leader was speaking to in the Buganda Kingdom. We want to thank the Buganda Kingdom and all the other cultural institutions that continue to support the work of government and the Ministry of Water in particular. Let me now take the pleasure to invite a very young girl, Trinity Mulungi. Trinity has a very short message for us. So Trinity, whoever has Trinity, yes, I see Trinity's here. Please make your way. Do we have the microphone, the mobile microphone? We should clap for the young girl. She's, if you talk about matters environment and you do not involve young children, then we will have left someone behind. And so we want to welcome Trinity. Do we have a mobile microphone for this? Can we have it on, please? Check, check.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trinity Mulungi. I am a young gospel artist. You and I will forever. Fellow Ugandans, fellow Africans, and the world at large, let us conserve our water and environment for peace and socio-economic transformation of Uganda. Be blessed as you listen. You and I will forever. Let's talk together and celebrate. If we wait for a day, you and I will forever. Let's talk together and celebrate. What does water mean to you? Environment mean to you? If you really care for our future, let's build resilience to risks and shocks caused by climate change, environmental degradation. Financing world environment, intersectoral collaboration. Let's join our hands in one accord. Let us conserve our water and environment for stability and peace in Uganda. Let us conserve our water and environment for stability and peace in Uganda. Climate change, the order of the day. What do you really have to say? Onlookers on the side, no one to decide. Everything will come back to you, to you. Let's build resilience to risks and shocks caused by climate change, environmental degradation. Currency to Uganda, masabu tonde bikume, brand kula kula na yegwanga. Let us conserve our water and environment for stability and peace in Uganda. Let us conserve our water and environment for stability and peace in Uganda. Akebulani, Katonda inapulani, Jabulani, Africa. Akebulani, Katonda inapulani, Jabulani, Africa. Currency to Uganda, masabu tonde bikume, grand kula kula na yegwanga. More often we assume water to much, yet so less. Water is key for irrigation, household and industrial use, energy maintenance of wetlands, wildlife support, to mention but a few. This is a call for collaborative planning to conserve, preserve, develop and sustainably manage our water and environment resources. Imagine that drop of water you will never see again, for God and my country.
Wow, beautiful right there. And we need to start from that particular edge, reminding the people that it's actually very important to preserve the environment. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for appreciating our young gospel artists. There were many questions right there in the song. I hope while she sang you were answering yourself. I hope while she sang it was ringing a bell in your mind. on what exactly we are supposed to do when it comes to issues of water and environment. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any more time, allow me invite Honorable Beatrice Anywar, who is the State Minister for Environment, to deliver her remarks. And right after that, Honorable, please take the pleasure to invite our guest of honor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her.
Indeed, God is good, and all the time. That is God's nature. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, the retired Major Jessica Alupo, the Right Reverend Dr. Anthony Joseph Ziwa, the Chairperson of the Joint Christian Council, and the Bishop of Ministerial. I think we have the representative. The Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, the co-chairperson of the Uganda Joint Christian Council, and the Archbishop of Uganda, His Eminence, the Metropolitan Jerome Musei, the co-chairperson of the Uganda Joint Christian Council, and the Archbishop of the Uganda Orthodox Church. I just want to congratulate you, Your Eminence, for your ascension on that very important pastoral chair. The Honorable Minister of State, my colleague, I think he's not feeling well, State for Water. The Honorable Minister of Environment and the Bulungi in the Buganda Kingdom, Madam Wechitiwa Mariam Karubo, members of Parliament, if at all you are present here, the Deputy Ambassador of Germany to Uganda, Mr. Hassan von Schrunder. The Eminence asked for apology. I follow suit. The Austrian resident representative, Dr. Kremser, my friend. The UNDP representative, my only sister, Madam Alice Atafa, you're always my best and always with me. My permanent secretary, heads of our agency, I see the ED, MD National Water, our directors of the ministry, the mayor of Nakawa, if you are around, our development partners, representative of the private sector present, and our children, especially Trinity. I think she deserves more than we clapped for her. I don't know where she is, that young, brilliant girl. Thank you very much, my little girl. We are proud of you. All the stakeholders, the government officials in your various capacities, ladies and gentlemen. Though it is a sad day for this country, for the loss of my brother, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, I stand firm to welcome you to the ministry in a special way. Let me also thank the media for the tremendous job you have done, Maurice. You're such one of those I really admire in your profession. I wish to thank the organizers who have enabled us to assemble here to attend the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week 2022. Your Excellency, our chief guest, we are humbled as the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda that you could spare time and be with us to celebrate this week. We are not going to take that for granted. Officiating at this event by the whole Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, it shows how the government of Uganda seriously take on the issues of water and environment, as it has been clearly outlined by the previous speakers. It's a total commitment. We appreciate our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this 5th time that we are celebrating the event of Water and Environment Week, we have learned a lot along the way, the experiences. And every now and then we celebrate it, we improve on what we did or what we missed out in the previous celebration. We bring all the stakeholders together so that we share, as it was highlighted by my permanent secretary. We share, we take stock of what has happened. We take stock of where are we in the middle of the destruction of our environment, the source of water, the source of life. Where do we want to go? And this is the moment. I appreciate your commitments, your time to this, and I hope as we leave, we shall have assignments for each of us. His Eminence said, it is you and me that are responsible for all the destructions we are seeing. We can decide that from here, individually, you start with your plastic bottle before you and know where to put it properly, or even say no to it forever. Amen. Then you make a difference in tomorrow's life towards conservation of the environment. I wish to take this opportunity equally to thank the various dignitaries, organizations, agencies, and partners that have worked tirelessly with my ministry to ensure that the event takes place. And this includes, but not limited to, the GIZ, WaterAid, Uganda IRC, Water for People, our very own UNDP, UNICEF, IUCN, and the workers, as you are told, the WWF, the Uganda Joint Christian Council, the Uganda Kingdom, the Toro Kingdom, and many others. Owechitiwa, you send our message to Ssaabasajja Kabaka that we do appreciate the partnership as we work to conserve the mother country. This is not the first time, nor will it be the last time. I remember when we were standing up for Mabera Forest, the Uganda Kingdom stood firmly with us, and part of it is still there. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of water of today is water and environment for peace and socio-economic transformation of Uganda. The event is being celebrated under 4 themes, as you had earlier been shown. We hope that each theme and pillar clicks a message to all of us in our different capacities And not all of us are going to tackle it at a go. Each of us can take an inch out of it and then make a difference of the 4 pillars we have identified as a ministry. Your Excellency, the Uganda Water and Environment Week is linked to Uganda's National Development Strategy and the National Development Plan 3, achievement of the middle income status and sustainable development goals, as it has earlier been highlighted. And as we discuss these various themes, we wish to remind you that water and environment resources are connectors and catalysts, vital resources for sustainable, for sustaining our lives, for promoting development, and for maintaining our whole cycle of livelihood. There's no shortcut to this. It is a cycle. It fits in each other. You cannot do away without the other. Dr. Florence Adong had already highlighted this. It's just a reminder. And I always say, Ugandans, we have just passed, we are still virtually through the COVID pandemic. People were looking for oxygen. At one moment, even in hospital, people were shifting cylinders. We can't remember how expensive the oxygen was. We were looking for life. And oxygen was one of those necessities. We forgot God-given oxygen. For years you have lived on earth. You have inhaled free oxygen. Free. Given by the Creator. I'm not the preacher of the day, but it's passionate in my heart. Should oxygen fall out of this room for just 5 minutes, we will be dead. We tested how expensive is it to have oxygen in the cylinder. Can't we learn that the God-given oxygen, free for whole of your life, even at the last minute when you are just gasping for your life, where is oxygen? And you want to destroy the source of oxygen? Today, change your mind. Protect your source of life. I hope that all of us are aware that water is a key input in most of our socio-economic development process, and that there are no activities that can be undertaken where water is not involved, either as a primary input or a secondary input, or even in our home, which is a societal nucleus, where life and activities start. It is key. And when we talk about the end of this, ladies, my passion is that if we don't protect this, our burden is increased, right from a homestead. How do you wish your mother, your aging mother, to carry a jerrycan 5 kilometers away to look for water? Because you destroyed the nearest well. You destroyed it. As a government, we are doing all that's possible with the parish development model to bring it nearer. But the source of the water, you and me, we must protect it to make it a reality. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we know that access to clean water and safe water and improved sanitation facilities and practices are prerequisites to a healthy population and therefore have a direct impact on the quality of life and the productivity of our population. Besides domestic water supply, water is vital as a pillar in for livestock, industries, hydropower, generation and agriculture, including the religious pillar. Baptism is done with water. Water and environment, therefore, significantly contribute to the national socio-economic development, although in most cases, it is actually taken for granted. And they say, this is a common good. Government tuyambe. But before the government tuyambe, we yambe. I'm from the north, but I know once I'm in Uganda Kingdom, I must know. Sabasaja wangari. Nena bagereka agerekero Buganda. Your Excellency, all this being geared towards the parish model goals, which we are rolling out as a country, we are committed as a ministry to ensure that it is a success. But we are going to rely on you, dear friends, to make it a reality. Our guest of honor, Your Excellency, you have already been informed that Water and Environment Week comprises of a number of activities which has been outlined, which I don't want to go into again. My Dr. Adong has highlighted those. We included the work, we included the other, it is incorporated in other sectors of the ministry, where we are celebrating the water, the forest, and meteorological days, which are all part of today's activity. Your Excellency, and dear friends, invited guests, all this would be easy, and we have narrated it. But allow me, Your Excellency, to show you the other side of the coin. That the ministry is struggling to deliver this much needed service to the population. We are in a running battles as we protect the environment, the source of water. We are at a very high cost of having clean water by our agency, National Water and Sewerage Corporation, to reach the population. It is very costly because we have destroyed the sponge. At one time in this country, Your Excellency, National Water had to go deeper in the lake to look for water, bypassing what His Eminence was saying, bypassing the plastics. Leave alone that the water had dried and drifted very far away. These are realities. Our budget is hand-capped. And we want to bring this to your attention, Your Excellency. For us to be able to do our work, the finances are so limited. Running battles, we are in courts of law with degraders. Our enforcement arm are all handcuffed. Government collects environmental levy. As you are aware, Your Excellency, it is supposed to help us clean up the environment. But we don't have that money. For instance, last year, 270 billion was collected through the environmental levy. We are only asking our guest of honor that we are allowed to use 50% only of that. We are only being modest. 50%, where 30% will go into restoration, demarcation of the wetlands, of the forests, on top of what our development partners give us. The 20% will help us protect the water sources and help us deliver clean water. If we don't protect the water sources, we are going to lose it all. Morris was just being reminded of his history, but let me also remind ourselves of our history. We grew up in the villages. For us, a well was always near a big tree or an anthill. And they told us there's a ghost. Don't go there early, or even don't tamper to cut. Our elders, who are never doctors, never educated, they knew when they would remove the tree, that big tree, the well is going to dry up. If you remove the anthill, the well is going to dry up. And it was guarded in parables jealously. What is our parable today? It is you and me. Your Excellency, the second one, we have a challenge with the reinforcement. I said we're in running battles. There are Ugandans who want to live in the world of their own. Selfishness. The lorries His Excellency was talking about is not by the poor Ugandans. It is the well-to-do people who can hire these lorries with a lot of mud and soil and go and dump in our wetlands for construction of all the beautiful, in their minds, constructions. The few enforcement arm we have as a ministry is not enough. Right now we have 183 police officers for the whole country. Really. What happens in Kitgum? What happens in Mitiana? What happens on Hoima Road? What happens in Jinja? 183 police officers. We needed at least 600. We don't have them, Your Excellency. Our humble plea is that we should have these funds increased to us to enable us recruit our rangers, our own. You see what is happening with Uganda Wildlife Authority. They have their game rangers. They have authority over them. Some of these police officers have orders from above. We have a challenge. These are two main things that I present to you, Your Excellency, on behalf of this ministry and on behalf of other stakeholders who want to see a change in the minds of Ugandans. Those who cannot change, let the law change them. Those who are Christian, who are believers in one way or another, let the word of God, through their servants, reach them and change their minds. Meanwhile, we shall do our best. I'd like to thank you once more, Your Excellency, for your time and listening to us. And therefore, allow me humbly take this singular opportunity to invite you, Your Excellency, the Vice President, to come and address your people. You're welcome. That's not enough. That's not enough. You're welcome, ma'am. Yalama no ino.
Please have your seats. The Honorable Beatrice Anywa, the Minister of State for Water and Environment. The Honorable Members of Ministers of State, the honorable members of parliament present, Your Eminence Hieronymus Musei, the Archbishop of the Orthodox Church in Uganda, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, the Deputy Ambassador to Germany, the UN Resident Representative, representatives of various development partners, representatives of private sector and civil society, representatives of cultural institutions in Uganda, all stakeholders in your various capacities, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water and Environment, and all senior government officials, and all the people of Uganda who are watching us. Allow me first to join the rest of the leaders in Uganda by inviting you to observe a moment of silence for the loss of our Speaker of Parliament, which we got the news this morning. May we just have a minute in his honor. May the Almighty God rest his soul in eternal peace. Thank you. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you warm regards from His Excellency, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who is the chief architect of all the government programs, including the one of water and environment. He promises to continue working with all of you in partnership in the fight against the degradation of the environment in our country. So he sent you his warm regards. I will now draw your attention to a few statements which I'm going to read, and then I will officially open the Water and Environment Week. I wish to congratulate the Ministry of Water and Environment and its various partners for organizing the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week and for bringing together all the key stakeholders to dialogue on issues affecting the sector of water and also Uganda in general. I am happy to note that you have maintained these annual celebrations as a way of providing an interface between sector actors and other stakeholders for knowledge exchange, dialoguing, and learnings on issues related to the sustainable development and management of water resources and environment resources. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, as you are aware, water and environment resources support life and socio-economic activities. These resources are central to agriculture, the mainstay of Uganda's economy, from which about 85% of the population derives their incomes and livelihoods. The provision of water for agriculture, for instance, will spur transformation of the economy through increased productivity for both livestock and crops. I thank the UN family because they articulated this point very loudly and clearly. Water is also required as an indispensable input in agro-industrialization. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, as it has already been said, Uganda's water storage capacity in valley tanks and dams is just 42 million cubic meters, translating to less than 1 cubic meter per person. This is alarming. A lot, therefore, needs to be done to improve this situation if the country is to be water secure and achieve middle income status. Water, therefore, must be available in adequate quantities and corresponding quality at the right time and the right place in order to contribute to the achievement of the development goal of increased household incomes and improved quality of life of the population. Access to safe water and sanitation is a human right. Currently, access to safe water in rural and urban areas stands at 69% and 71% respectively, while access to basic sanitation in rural and urban areas is at 78% and 89% respectively. Low access to water supply and sanitation services has brought inequality in service delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, rising costs of investments and technologies amidst increasing population and economic demands for water have contributed to low access. This situation needs to be improved, and as you may be aware, the NRM government has committed to having a safe water source per village during this term of office. So we strongly call upon your support and partnership in ensuring that we implement that commitment together. Again, while Uganda is the pearl of Africa with very good scenery, there is an ever-increasing threat to its natural resource base, especially forests and wetlands. And I want to appreciate that this has already been pointed out very clearly by all the leaders who spoke before me. For example, in Uganda, the forest cover has declined from 24% in 1990 to 12.4% currently. This is majorly attributed to biomass fuel cooking and combustion with other auxiliary drivers such as expansion of agricultural land, sporadic urbanization, and income poverty, industrialization, and inadequate incentives for private plantation forests. About 90% of Ugandans use firewood and charcoal for cooking. Other challenges include encroachment, illegal harvesting, and titling. Similarly, the natural wetland coverage as a percentage of the total land area declined from 15.6% in 1990 94 to 8.9% currently. It is estimated that Uganda loses 846 square kilometers of its wetlands annually. There is therefore an urgent need to reverse this trend. The major causes of wetland degradation are poor farming practices, unplanned urbanization and settlement, excessive water abstraction, income poverty, poor intra and inter-sector coordination with regards to continued issuance of land titles in wetlands, sand mining and industrialization with some of the demarcated business industrial parks located in wetlands. I want to appreciate at this point the representative of the religious leaders who are present here, because he has explained the use of the sun to sieve the water, to purify the water, to clean the water. So that means that maybe we need also, on top of the practical approaches that we are implementing now, we need to add on psychological or mindset aspect of the fight against environmental degradation. We do bring that aspect so that everybody is aware and knows that it's not about the law, it's not about the policy, but it's about personal responsibility to begin with. The NRM government, in its manifesto, made commitments to plant 40 million trees per year, translating into 200 million trees over a 5-year period from 2021 to 2026, and thereby increasing the country's natural resource base, particularly in form of forests and trees. So I would like to thank the Ministry of Water for leading this, but also thank the development partners who are in support of this initiative. And we have also taken a decision to sensitize the communities against burning the bushes, because when they burn the bushes, then during dry season, they kill young trees which are trying to grow, and also destroy the soil fertility, which in turn affects the wetlands. So on top of planting trees, we stop them from burning bushes, and also ask them to plant by themselves. On top of the arranged trees, they also plant indigenous trees, which are good for both medicinal purposes, but also for the ecosystem. I am glad that the minister now is introducing commercial trees, commercial crops, which are trees which will be used for both environmental purposes, but also for commercial purposes. That's a very good invention. I am happy to note that the government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Water and Environment, in collaboration with partners and the private sector, has innovatively crafted the implementation of this commitment through a nationwide tree planting dubbed Running Out of Trees Roots, 40 million trees per year. And we shall be very happy for you to invite us to come and be planting, even if it is on a daily basis. This depicts that one tree for every Ugandan, and maximizing in an annual National Day for mass tree planting. Relatedly, the NRM manifesto further commits government to protect and preserve the country's ecosystems with a view of utilizing these resources for nature-based tourism, environment and climate mitigation, and sustainable use of communities' neighboring protected areas. Ladies and gentlemen, well-managed wetlands, riverbanks, and forests make communities resilient to extreme weather events and disasters such as floods, prolonged drought, and incidences of water scarcity. Uganda has also, over the last 3 years, been experiencing flooding in several parts of the country, resulting in serious impacts of property, infrastructure, and people's lives. And the Minister, you may wish to recall when we were discussing this, and I was telling you that there's a bit of irony in your statement. The Minister was telling us that there is scarcity of water and the water levels are growing lower and lower, but at the same time she was saying there's flooding. So I told her that there is a bit of an irony in that statement. But I think what this means is that there are erratic weather patterns which the stakeholders, through correcting the environment, will also realign those erratic weather patterns. And this all impacts on the farmers. I was talking to those people who do the meteorologists from the stalls there when we were inspecting the stalls. And I was telling them that sometimes, not every day, but sometimes, they can guide the farmers through their weather forecast that it's going to be a very rainy month. And then on the contrary, it becomes a very, very dry month, not even a drop of rain in one day. And then sometimes they can say it's going to be a very, very dry month. In that month, you see hailstorms. So, but they assured me that now they have acquired the state-of-art technology, such misinformation will never arise again. So, but the point still is, the weather patterns used to be stable. Even my parents in the village used to know when to plant the first seed of groundnuts, the first seeds of millet, the first seed of sorghum. They knew. So those meteorologists were just reinforcing them. But the weather patterns were very stable, and when the people would plant, they would harvest. So this is, I think, the picture that we should be looking forward to go back to that era, so that we can produce again in a very stable situation. As I come to the conclusion of this, my remark, let me also just say that Uganda has also, in the last 3 years, been experiencing flooding. I have already said that. This is due to increased settlements and developments in flood plains, poor agricultural practices, and deforestation. These have made the soils loose and steep slopes bare and allowed water to move very fast to valleys immediately after the rains. The above factors have all combined to further worsen the flooding problem. So government is currently implementing measures to manage the perennial occurrence of floods in and around the country. These include, among others, protection of water catchment areas and the general environment, regular maintenance of water bodies and rivers so that they perform their water storage and conveyance function, construction of water reservoirs, demarcation and protection of lake shores, riverbanks and wetlands to limit encroachment by settlements, agricultural activities and other development, and strengthening of enforcement of the water and environmental laws at all levels. Ladies and gentlemen, plastic has become the most dominant waste in the country, both on land and in the water bodies. And again, the religious leaders were talking about the plastic bags, the kavera, we call them kavera. More than 600 tons of plastic is disposed of each day. The country has a large number of inland freshwater bodies which are being suffocated by plastic litter. This is in addition to the pollution caused on land, in the drainage systems, in towns, dump sites, and parks. The country thus recognizes the threat and dangers posed by waste, and particularly plastic litter and associated pollution, and I am happy to note that a number of measures have been put in place to address the problem, among which are the review of environmental law. The National Environmental Act number 5, 2019 is being reviewed, in which all plastic carrier bags under 30 microns are banned. It was reviewed and all these plastic bags are banned. So the only thing remaining is that the law enforcement bodies should pursue this to the latter, because that's what goes back to our issue of having psychological mindset that this is wrong or the other one is right. But the law is already there. The second one is imposition of producer extended responsibility as part of polluter pays principle to ensure that producers of all materials with the potential to pollute have the duty to follow the management of their product through its life cycle. And that's a good thing because it brings everybody on board. Imposing a mandatory condition to all plastic manufacturers to establish recycling plans and ensure that they follow their plastic material and bring it back for recycling. And this should be made very attractive so that it is implementable. Specific emphasis on nationwide, multi-sectoral, multimedia, critical environmental literacy campaigns to empower citizens to follow the right waste management hierarchy. I wish, therefore, to call upon all Ugandans to support all efforts to address the problem of plastic pollution. Ladies and gentlemen, water and environment resources that don't recognize administrative boundaries. These resources are shared with other countries by various local governments and also by various people. Thus, their rational and equitable development and management is key to the growth of the country. The varying uses of water are interlinked and require sustainable exploitation and management to ensure that there is adequate water of the right quality and quantity for both production and domestic use, even during the dry seasons. Considering that water and environment resources are at the core of sustainable development and are critical for socio-economic development, healthy ecosystems, and for human survival, these resources will be critical in the achievement of the National Development Plan 3 goal and targets. There is no doubt that water and environment resources will be key in the implementation of the parish development model that was launched last month by His Excellency, the President. I am therefore happy to note that the theme for the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week is Water and Environment for Peace and Sustainable Socio-Economic Transformation. This is a befitting theme for the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week, more so at a time when the country is just recovering from the challenges caused by COVID-19, rising water levels, flooding, and job loss for many people. I therefore request all the participants of the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week to critically discuss how water and environment can be sustainably developed and managed for peace and sustainable socio-economic transformation of Uganda and the region. This is key in transforming the country through inclusive growth, employment, and wealth creation in line with the National Development Plan 3. I have no doubt that the outcomes of this 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week will make significant contributions enabling Uganda to achieve the National Development Plan 3 goals and targets, and also the implementation of our key flagship program of parish development model. I wish to recognize the various organizations and development partners that have continued to support the Ministry of Water and Environment to deliver water and environment services to the people of Uganda. And on behalf of government of Uganda, I wish to thank all of you for this support and request you to continue providing such support so that this critical sector of government can perform its key functions of sustainable development and management of water and environment resources for the benefit of all Ugandans. I want to thank you all once again for the messages you have shared, and I wish you a very fruitful deliberations during this week. And having said that, I formally declare the 5th Uganda Water and Environment Week formally open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Another round of applause. It's very clear that Her Excellency and His Excellency are definitely aligned to this cause, totally in support of what the Ministry of Water and Environment are doing, and are ready to take the support. But Your Excellency, just before you leave, I'd like to request Honorable Beatrice Anywar. She has a special package for you, and we have something beautiful and special right here that you will be taking part of just shortly before you leave. And Honorable Beatrice Anywar will be officially handing over a special package to you. And right after that, much later on, we will be having a break on air as we allow the Vice President to leave, and that will be shortly before we get into our panel discussion. And also, Your Excellency, we request that you will take the honor to sign a commemorative painting for this 5th Water Week. Okay, as the Vice President takes on that, we will also have the Minister right after her sign this, and the rest of us will have the opportunity definitely to be able to partake of this and sign it up. And I will allow at this moment in time the Vice President, with a lot of duties and with a lot of commitments to pay attention to. She's given us quite ample time. We will allow her to leave right after this. All right, thank you very much, Your Excellency. It's been a pleasure having you. At pleasure, we will allow you, Your Excellency, to take your leave. And for TV audience, media audience, we will as well be taking a very short commercial break. We'll take off about 5 minutes as we continue with this. And when we do return, we will definitely have our panel discussion that will be taking place. But just before, I would request us all to stand take the national anthems in reverse order. All right. Oh, yes. Yes, we need to have the keynote. We will switch up our program a little bit, yes, because our keynote speaker requests that would like to have the Vice President, High Excellency, listen to his speech before she takes a leave. And thank you very much, Your Excellency, for allowing to stay. So ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Yes, she has accepted to stay, and I will allow my colleague, Maurice Mugisha, to come and take us into the next session just before we go into our panel discussion. It's always quite rare to have our leaders spare a lot of time for such events. Maurice, come take up.
I was going to invite you, but I'm glad you're coming very quickly. So we may have to turn the podium a bit so you can see your own presentation. You're able to see.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vice President. Yeah, this is my presentation. I came specially from Israel, and I want to thank the Ministry of Water for inviting me. This is the second time that I'm here. I was here 4 years ago. I gave a lecture, and then they wrote to me that they liked my lecture, so they decided to invite me again. And then I had to decide whether to deliver the same lecture, hoping that they forgot it already, or to prepare another one. So I took the main, of course I updated. Can you make the whole picture, please? Okay. Now let's start working together. Whenever I do this, please go on. So, as the president of an educational institute, I cannot start without mentioning that with education we can change the world. But I ask you, who said it? Mandela. And if we look, go on. If we look at the Dakar recommendation, we see that Dakar recommended that every country should allocate between 4 and 5% to education. But if we look at the map of Africa, we see that most countries is less than 1%. But in Israel, we were lucky that our first prime minister, 73 years old, his name was Ben Gurion, he is the founder, he decided that every child must go to school. And if the child is not going to school, the father is going to jail. And he sent some people to jail. And today, 73 years later, we enjoy this decision. And Israel is number 2 in the world now, with 7.3% of our economy that is going to education. Now, on the other hand, if we look at higher education in Africa, unfortunately, look at the number of universities and really higher education and research. This is the pulling force. Now, we have been working with Uganda for many, many years. And most of you vice chancellors studied at our institute. The last one, Ndumba of Makerere, and Nejoma of Gulu, and Muni University, the tall lady, I forgot her name, and all other universities, they all studied at our institute. And now COVID, not only on top of everything, COVID, according to the Monetary Fund, the COVID, Uganda is going to lose its economy 8% because of COVID. Now, Israel is a small country in the Middle East. We have only 9 million people. Here we are talking about Uganda, close to 50 million. Only 9 million people. But because of this decision of investing in education and training, we have economy of $400 billion. Only 9 million people. And it's more. Where are you? Uganda is only 39. 39. Now, I'm not coming here to say we are better. No, it's if we, and now, by the way, we don't have any natural resources in Israel, except, as you know, milk and honey. But we invested in education, we invested in research, and we want to do it together with Uganda. We have been doing it. Our export is 110 billion, where Uganda is only 3 billion. This is the difference, but we want to share this experience. We can share the experience. This is the message that I'm coming with. Now, this is the declaration of Abuja on health. I cannot, we are in the COVID area, so I want to say one word about health. Only 3.8% on health, whereas in Israel, where are you? Israel is 7.5%. And the Minister of Health, Jane, is alumni of our institute, and she knows it. And we emphasize the primary health care. We don't emphasize hospitals. We don't have a lot of hospitals. So here is Jane. She is alumni of our program in 2011. And here, even from India, jointly, we have an agreement with WHO, the World Health Organization, and they sent to us to share this experience. This is just here. Even in Brazil, we are now trying to change the health system. The person in the middle is the Minister of Health of Brazil, and here, Haiti, this is the last one on health. Just to go on. Climate change. We heard today a lot about climate change, and indeed, in Africa, from 1900, more than one degree. More than 1 degree. And look at this. This is north. Here we see the Sahel up on the right there, the Sahel with desert. And the governor of Marsabit is in Kenya, he told me, he studied at our institute, he told me that 40% of all the livestock already died. Lack of water. And already now I'll tell you that if they don't have water, of course you will feel it here. Here, they all die. They all die. And this is in Kenya, Turkana. Turkana and Karamoja are the same. We participated in a study of, USAID study, and here in the East Africa. And this is Lake Victoria, and already I can tell you that Lake Victoria might shrink. Might shrink. This is the end of the world. And if we look at Lake Victoria, look, this is 2015. You have already 30 million people around the lake, and the lake will shrink. Not to mention that here we have friends from Egypt, that if the lake shrinks, so they will also suffer. Look at Lake Chad. Mrs. Vice President, Lake Chad was the size of Israel. This is 1972, 20,000 square kilometers. This is 1972. Look today, dry. Totally dry. In the middle of the Sahara, Lake Chad is dry. And of course, it affects movement and immigrants and so many problems there in this area. This is the change in length in growing period. You can see that eastern Uganda is going to suffer because of climate change, fewer days of growing period. And not to mention, and it was mentioned already, all those impacts on disasters here. Disasters, floods, Rwanda. Our friend here talked about deforestation. Look at this. You cut trees, unbelievable. Here in the world, number one in the world is 31% covered by trees, 31%. Number one, I think in Sweden. Where is our friend from Sweden here? Yes, Sweden. Then you have here Africa on the average. You have here Uganda, only 15%, and you're still cutting trees. And Ethiopia is already 3% only. Unbelievable. Look at this. This is few years back. Now everything looks dry. Everything looks dry. Now comes to water. Here we have the water availability all over Africa, every country. Here in Uganda, you can see in 1990, this is the long blue, and then in 2025, you have half of the water. Half of the water. And the Minister of Water, you talked about irrigation. Irrigation, only 1%. I will talk about irrigation immediately because we are in the 21st century. So all the crops should be irrigated. In Israel, everything is computerized, not only irrigated, it is computerized irrigation. Now look at all those countries. Here, I was in Tana River. This is the governor of Tana River, Mr. Dado, Governor Dado, he invited me. And I came there and I saw Tana River in Kenya is going, the biggest river in Kenya is going to the sea. They don't use the water. And people start shouting, we don't have water. And they start even fighting. And there are casualties, but the water is going into the water, in the ocean. It's a matter of water management. And you have immigrants, refugees. This is south of Kenya, Mzima Springs, under the Kilimanjaro. 90% of the water is going to the ocean. Only 10%, this is the main source of the water of Mombasa. But 90% is going to the ocean. It's a matter of water management. Water management. And here I was in Kenya 2018, the blue economy. Now, please look carefully on this map. Here we have areas at most risk from climate change. You can look at this area. Here we can see Nigeria, Boko Haram on the northeast of Nigeria. We can see Darfur in Sudan. We can see Somalia. We can see the Shabab in Kenya. Maybe all those problems because of water. Because of water. And Syria, which is our neighbor, now it is clear that 7 years of civil war, 500,000 people died because of water. There were 3 consecutive years of drought, plus the Turks put some dams on the rivers, and farmers cannot continue cultivate their land. They move to the cities. They want to work, but there is no work, so they become unemployed. They're unemployed, they start stealing, shooting. And this is how the civil war started in Syria. Now everybody understands, 7 years of killing, 500,000 people were killed, and how many refugees to Europe from Syria. Why? Because of water. The water is the problem. And here there are forecasts that there will be civil wars by 2030, which is only 8 years from now, because of climate change, because of water. In fact, it's only water. Now, the question is there a solution? Yes, there is a solution. Here in Israel, go back. In Israel, we reuse 90% of our water. 90%. You flush the water in the toilet, the water goes, we reuse it, and we use it for agriculture. In fact, the water is pure, you can drink the water, but nobody wants to drink water from sewage. So we have 2 separate pipes, 2 different colors. So the reused water is going to agriculture and the regular water. But if we reuse 90% of the water, you can do it here. It's not a secret, it's not holy. It's only a matter of know-how. And we want to share this experience, and we are sharing this experience, please. Here, the second country, Israel is 87, 90%, Spain is 17. Europe and the US, only 5% of the water is reused. So here we want to share this experience. And here again, I'm extending to you a formal invitation to be our guest. And I want to tell you that the president of Ethiopia, the former one, he passed away, Girma, he came to see the same thing on water management. Now this is irrigation. Everything is irrigated in Israel now. And as I said, mostly is irrigated by digital irrigation. Not only that, by satellite we can know in the field that part of the field is drier, so we give more water. In another part is wet, so we give less water. The dripping system also developed in Israel, so this is very efficient because now every plant gets exactly the amount that the plant needs. But this is also not a secret. We share the experience. Here, this is in the desert. Half of Israel is desert, And most of the agriculture of Israel moved into the desert. Here, you can see the desert, and suddenly it's green. These are tomatoes from the desert. And grapes in the desert. This is lemon with no seeds in the desert. Oranges in the desert. If we can do it there, we can do it also in Karamoja. We can do it also in other places in Africa. And the main achievement is really here. There is no soil, so can you imagine watermelon and melon grow in the air? Because anyway there is no soil. But you need water. You have water, you can grow it. Here there was this is March 2020, just before the eruption of Corona. Here is another group from Kenya, jointly with UNDP and FAO, of course, that they came, and especially in Turkana. Turkana is the biggest county in Kenya, dry, very dry. So 10 experts came, and we worked with them. They came for a month. 10 from these districts in Turkana. We worked with them on water management. We planned with them, and they went back. Of course, everything stopped because of Corona, but now we'll resume. We have an agreement with the Council of Governors of all of Kenya, 47 governors. Here, this is Turkana, which is next door to Uganda, of course. The same with Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, the desert from Namibia is moving into Zimbabwe. This is a university, Midland State University, on the border. The Vice Chancellor Mbebe studied at Galilee. He saw. So now we developed a program on water management, which is a 9-month program, out of which 6 weeks is in Israel. Continue. Here, the former president of Liberia came to Galilee. Why? Water management. Let's do water management. I don't remember what I did like this, but she replied also like this. Here in the north of Nigeria, the biggest county is Kano. Kano in the desert, the South Sahara. This is the governor of Kano, and we signed an agreement. Go on. Here, Kano State Government, Galilee International Management Institute. We started, of course, water management. We can turn Kano to a garden. Once you have water, you don't have a desert. Here, Kenyatta even come to us. Kenyatta, who is finishing in August, but Uhuru came to us. Now only one word on agriculture. Go on. Because someone talked about dairy. Dairy in Israel, because of research, the Israeli cow is giving 50 liters, 50 liters of milk per day. 50 liters here. There are cows even with 70. And here, I remember visiting a farm in Gulu. By the way, the mayor of Gulu is also our alumni. So 3-4 liters, and a cow is a cow. What is the difference? It's only a matter of know-how. Only a matter of know-how. And here, of course, it's genetics, management, and nutrition. Here, this is the president, vice chancellor of Chuka University in Kenya. He established a dairy farm in the university for the whole region, but he is also making money. He's selling milk. And all the farmers double the amount of milk of their cows in 1 year. In 1 year. Only a matter of know-how. And Samburu, I will go on. Post-harvest, did you know that almost 50% of all the agricultural production is wasted? Wasted, never reaches the market. But also we develop through research, we develop ways how to minimize these loss. Here, 1.3 billion tons per year, unbelievable, only in Kenya. Go on. So this is post-harvest, and we have, for example, with cherry tomatoes. With cherry tomatoes, we have research and long-shelf cherry tomatoes. And the same with other things. But again, my message is that if we do it in Israel, we can do it also in Uganda. And it's not a secret. Maybe this is the secret. Israel is #1 in the world in research and development. And here I invite the institute here, the Ministry of Water, to join with us. Israel is #1. We allocate 4.5% 4.5% of our economy is going to research and development. And the thing is, it's not government, it's the private sector. Private sector, companies that make money, they don't take all the money to their pocket, but part of it, they understand that you have to invest back in the product. No wonder that we have so many Nobel Prize, 9 million people, and look at this, 12 Nobel Prize. I'll go fast. All those companies now, did you know that the cell phone that everybody has was developed in Israel? And all those Microsoft, NT, XT that you have in your computers was developed in Israel. Why? Remember, we invested in education 73 years ago. Now look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, you know, the stock exchange, Israel with 9 million people, 63 companies, high-tech companies. What is high-tech if not research and development? 63 companies are already listed on here. You see, UK, only 5. India, 3. China 0, of course, they only copy. Okay. Intel is the biggest private company now in Israel. 40% of the research of Intel worldwide is done in Israel. And I want to get, Apple never had any research center outside the US, and they open now in Israel. Space, we launch, I want to show you, this is a regular satellite. But look at this now. This is a real satellite that was developed in school, by school kids, and they launched it to orbit. This is a real satellite, small satellite. Now, okay, give an imagine, I will not go into it. This is a new pill with a small camera at the tip of the pill that if you want to see what is going on into your stomach, you swallow the pill, it takes pictures and broadcast outside. Here, this is the picture of our stomach. Instead of, if we want to see what's going on, instead of opening the stomach, here we take the pill with a camera. And it came from the military, with someone, engineer, that had a missile with a with a small camera. Okay, energy, I must speak, this is environment. Do you know that Israel, since 1950s, you cannot have a permit for a house without solar panel on a house. I look outside and see the sun, the same price, which is 0. And now, listen to that, we have here Ashalim. Ashalim is, there are thousands here, thousands of mirrors. You see, thousands of mirrors that they take the sun energy and show it to the tower. And can you imagine, this energy is enough for a city of 120,000 people. The whole energy. No gas, no oil, nothing. Only solar energy. Galilee Institute is part of national security, and especially here in East Africa. General JJ, who is now the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is also an alumni. He was my student. We talk about peace. And here in Kenya, this is all the chief of staff of East Africa and Galilee Institute. We are invited with a code here. Arthur is sitting here. This is the president of Ethiopia that I told you, Girma, that came to Galilee as our guest with a delegation of, and we talk about water management with Hawassa University. Go on, go on. Here, this is a former prime minister of Ethiopia, Haile Mariam. We also talked to the Nigerian government about Boko Haram. Boko Haram, for 10 years, they are killing and kidnapping, but nothing happened. So we proposed and we submitted a plan to the government, to President Buhari, and through him, he is the head of the DIA, which is the Nigerian CIA, and he's alumni of Galilee. Usman, I know him and he knows me. So we submitted that they will lay weapon, and we are contributing by the government of Nigeria will give them a piece of land, and we will teach them how to develop the most advanced agriculture. Okay, go on. Here I said already civil war. Now think about it. Civil war, first of all, just a minute, if there is a civil war, look what's going on now with Ukraine. Civil war, you will experience in Germany, in Austria, in Sweden, so many refugees. And there is a solution. The solution is to teach the farmers and to teach in water management. Here, even India, this is the Prime Minister of India. We work very much in India. I will note, here is a desert, and the desert, we are going to flourish the desert. This is the Prime Minister of Punjab that came to Galilee, and we are working with them. I will note, this is India, not very important. China, can you imagine? China, we have an agreement, 5-year agreement already 3 times on what? Water management and innovation in agriculture. Here, this is the Deputy Minister of Science and Technology that comes to us. We sign an agreement every 5 years. Even China. I forgot, Organization of American States. All the 34 countries of America also learn from us. And they really come. So what is the main risk? Really, immigration of rural population to cities. If we don't teach them how to survive, how to be efficient, how to compete in the market, they will give up. And by the way, in India, 13,000 farmers every year commit suicide. Because, you know, they take loans, they invest, there is no rain, and they commit suicide. Here, urbanization, we know. But look at this. So we have to have efficient, and we have, also the farmers, they want to stay where they are. They don't want to go to the cities and to be refugees in the cities. So we have a program that we double agricultural productivity in 8 disciplines. We're working in India, we're working in Latin America. Please go on, I will not hear. Poultry, aquaculture, of course, dairy, I talked already, post-harvest, agribusiness to compete, fruit, horticulture. Now look at this, flowers. In Valentine's Day 2017, Israel export to Europe 60 million Israeli flowers. 60 million just for Valentine's Day. Can't you do it here, from here? For sure, for sure. Here I met in September 2017 with the Prime Minister, and we signed an agreement, the government of Uganda with Galilee International Management, with Minister of Finance, Masya. I am signed on the other side. We started, but of course COVID came, we had to stop, and here we signed the agreement. I came to his ministry and we signed the agreement. We are willing to continue. We are willing to continue. And now please look at this. This is in 2100. 2100. Nigeria is going to be 900 million people. 900 million people. You think they will stay in Nigeria? If there is no water because of climate change, they will also come here. They will go to Europe, 900 million. Now look at this, Tanzania, DRC, Congo, Ethiopia, and Uganda, 200 million. If we must do something today with water, with agriculture. This is a must. It's not that we should do, or we could do, or it's nice. It's a must. Otherwise, you cannot feed 200 million people in the year 2100. And look at this. Here, you can say 2100, so far away. No, but in 2050, Nigeria is going to be already 450 million, or more than 400 million. You will see them here. They will come all over, looking for jobs, looking for food, looking for water. So let's do it together. Not only that, this is the, I think, United Nations. They showed what will happen to cities because of climate change. Because of climate change and lack of water, people will move to cities. Look at Lagos. Lagos, that in the year 2010, Lagos was only 10 million people. Here, Lagos will be 40 million people. How can you manage a city of 40 million people? And the same with Kinshasa, Cairo, Dar es Salaam. 3.4 million people today, not today, in 2010, 20 million people in 2050. 2050, Nairobi, all of these countries, even Kano, small country. How do we increase productivity? You see, the green is increased land, but most of the land is occupied already. Here, increase cropping intensity, but the 77% of increase is by know-how. And this is what we want to share. This is our mission. So we have a program on computer, but I will not go into it. So this is what can we do together. First message, I hope, no, one by one. First message, it is possible. If we do it in Israel, we can do it here. It's not a secret, it's not holy, we can do it and we want to do it. The second one, here, double agricultural. I hope that we can continue this agreement that we signed in 2018 or 17 or whatever. We are willing. Of course, reuse of water is a must. We do it in Israel, we can do it here. Preparation of disaster, you talked about it already, that because of climate change, the World Bank had a study that if you do not prepare and there is a disaster, usually the damage is about $200 million. $200 million is the disaster. If you prepare well, it goes down to 40 million. Of course, solar energy, it's a must. Professionals are welcome to our training program, and as I said, we have a 2-year program. Oh, this is also important. We have a 2-year program on computers in agriculture, digital agriculture, and we are committed to employ the best students, 10% of the students in Israel. The students, when they finish, they can work in Israeli high-tech companies, 10%, the best students, but they will work online. They don't have to travel. And here I want to propose to our Europeans, suggest also to you companies, to hire from here. The best ones, they will accumulate experience. This is my message. Thank you. Do we have time for questions or no questions? I hope everything is clear. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Professor Joseph Shivo. And I know the VP ran out of time, but very quickly, our chief guest, we want one photo. So I'll request yourself and the minister, who will be joined by our partners, the German ambassador, GIZ, UNDP, the Archbishop. Please come. We'll have one photo and then allow the Vice President to leave. She has another engagement. And as you may be aware, she's a very busy person. And so we don't want to keep her longer. So. I keep looking. Professor, yes, please join. Please note that after the photo, the Vice President will depart, and thereafter we'll have a very short 5-minute break for the TV stations as we reorganize for the panel discussion. Our panelists are ready, and we should be able to start immediately. We will only extend our engagement by another 30 minutes, so we'll manage this up to about 5:30. Photos, social media, digital platforms. If you're using the hashtag, it's UWEK22. That's UWEWK22. That's the hashtag we're using for this conversation. We want to thank you, our chief guest. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our chief guest. We request the Honorable Minister to see our guest off. And then we'll quickly request our guest to allow our chief guest depart. And as soon as she has, the break now formally begins. I'll allow the TV stations to take a very short break of 5 minutes. And then we're able to come back with our panel discussion. If you can, please pick a bottle of water. But as they said, since we are trying to stay away from the bottles, you must manage the bottles and the plastics. Please manage the way we deposit or at least dispose of our plastics. All right, so may we now have the anthems, please? Anthems in reverse order. Yes, and one stanza, please, just one. In reverse order, the East African anthem and then Uganda national anthem. Once again, we'd like to thank the chief guest and the Honourable Minister, please do CEO of our chief guest, for joining us this afternoon. We want to thank you so much, and we'll ask our guests and delegates to remain with us because we still have just a bit of an hour to conclude with our panel discussion. We will ensure, myself and Mildred, that we keep it short and you know, interesting enough to capture the various points. And I think what Dr. Joseph did for us was set the tone for our conversation. So please do take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. So I will now ask our panelists to join us as we let the TV stations conclude with that short break. So I will request our panelists who are already here to join us at the front. And
Did you know that wasting water like that is causing harm to the environment? Did you know that water is vital for agriculture, industries, transport, energy, amidst other growing demands?
You mean water is that important?
Be in class now. Water resources are part of the environment, and their sustainable management and development is key in mitigating the increasing risks and shocks related to climate change. Join the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2022 from 28th to 25th March 2022 under the theme Water and Environment for Peace and Socio-Economic Transformation of Uganda, as we discuss the role of water and environment resource management and development in promoting peace and stability. The Uganda Water and Environment Week is organized by the Ministry of Water and Environment through the Water Resources Institute in collaboration with other partners. For more information, call 0782 662205 or 0753 153791.
I represent Amigo Technologies. We are basically